Chiefs Kingdom, buckle up. This rumor is something you won't want to miss. We're deep into the offseason, and Kansas City's front office is already making moves behind the scenes. But what if I told you the Chiefs are being linked to one of the most talented young wide receivers in the league? That's right. Chris Olave's name is officially in the conversation. Before we dive into what this could mean, I want you to do something real quick. If you're hyped about the idea of the Chiefs making a big move, go to the comment section and spam C for Chiefs. Let's see how many of you are ready for another game-changing addition to this offense. So, where did this rumor come from? The source is Last Word on Sports, a well-respected outlet in the football world, and they've named Kansas City as a top trade destination for Chris Olave. If you've been following the NFL's rumor mill, you know how wild things can get this time of year. But this one is different. This is the first time we've seen Olave's name directly linked to the Chiefs, and it actually makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about why the Chiefs are even in the market for a receiver. The offense, led by Patrick Mahomes, still has plenty of firepower. But last season proved that the wide receiver room isn't what it used to be. Rashee Rice showed promise, but with his legal troubles, his availability for 2025 is in question. Xavier Worthy, the explosive rookie, also has potential off-the-field concerns. Hollywood. Brown is a solid veteran addition, but he's battled injuries. Bottom line, this receiving core needs another reliable weapon, and that's where Chris Olave comes in. If Kansas City lands him, he instantly becomes one of Mahomes' top targets. His ability to stretch the field, run precise routes, and create separation could bring back the deep threat element that's been missing since Tyreek Hill's departure. Plus, he's still on his rookie contract, meaning the Chiefs could get a high upside playmaker at a manageable cost. But is Olave really the answer? What would the trade cost? And is there a risk factor the Chiefs should be worried about? Let's break it all down. All right, let's talk about Chris Olave. You've probably heard his name before, but if you're not fully aware of what he brings to the table, let me break it down for you. This guy isn't just another wide receiver. He's got the potential to be one of the best in the league. And if he lands in Kansas City, well, let's just say Mahomes would have a new favorite target. Olave made a name for himself at Ohio State, one of the top wide receiver factories in college football. He was a key piece of their offense, playing alongside other elite talents like Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith-Njigba. In his final 2 seasons with the Buckeyes, he racked up over 1,700 yards and 22 touchdowns, proving he was NFL ready before he even stepped onto the field as a pro. That's exactly why the New Orleans Saints spent a first-round pick on him in the 2022 NFL Draft, and from the moment he arrived, he didn't disappoint. As a rookie, Olave put up 72 catches for over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns, earning a spot on the Pro Football Writers Association's all-rookie team. He followed that up with another solid sophomore season, improving his numbers across the board. But here's where things get tricky. Last season, injuries slowed him down, and he only played in 8 games, finishing with 32 catches for 400 yards and a touchdown. When he's on the field, he's electric. The problem is keeping him there. Still, when you compare Olave to other receivers on the market, whether it's free agents or draft prospects, he stands out. He's still young, still developing, and he's already shown he can be a legitimate WR1. Plus, his current contract is a huge advantage. He's still on his rookie deal, meaning the Chiefs wouldn't have to break the bank to bring him in. So knowing what we know about Olave's talent and upside, the real question becomes, what would it take to get him? And would it be worth the price? Let's dig into that next. Now that we know what Chris Olave brings to the table, it's time to talk about the big question. What would it cost to get him? Because let's be real, the Saints aren't just going to give him away. If Kansas City wants to make this move, it's going to come at a price. According to multiple reports, New Orleans is looking for at least a second-round pick in return for Olave. Some insiders even believe the Saints could push for a second and a third rounder, considering his talent and contract situation. That's a significant investment. But when you compare it to other wide receiver trades in recent years, it might not be as crazy as it sounds. Think about some of the big WR trades we've seen. Just last year, the Bears gave up a second-round pick, which turned into the 32nd overall selection, for Chase Claypool, and that deal turned out to be a disaster. On the flip side, the Eagles landed A.J. Brown for a first-round pick, and he completely transformed their offense. So, trading a second for a proven young talent like Olave? That's a move that could pay off in a big way. But there's another layer to this: the salary cap. The Chiefs are always working around cap space challenges, and while Olave's rookie contract is manageable for now, he'll be due for a big extension soon. If Kansas City makes this trade, they'd be committing to either paying him top dollar down the road or letting him walk after a short stint. So, is this a long-term solution or just a high-risk gamble? That's the debate. Some fans might see Olave as the missing piece to another Super Bowl run. Others might think it's too steep of a price, especially when the draft offers cheaper alternatives. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were Brett Veach, would you pull the trigger on this trade? Drop a T in the comments for trade or a P for pass. Let's see where Chiefs Kingdom stands. And, speaking of risks, there's one major concern with Olave that we haven't talked about yet: his health. Let's break that down next. If there's one thing that could make the Chiefs hesitate on trading for Chris Olave, it's his history with concussions. Talent? Not a question. Fit in the offense? Absolutely. But his health? That's where things get complicated. Olave has suffered multiple concussions since entering the NFL, and it's not just a recent issue. Dating back to his college days at Ohio State, he's had at least 5 documented concussions. That's a serious red flag, especially in today's NFL, where player safety is under intense scrutiny. The biggest concern with concussions isn't just missing games. It's how they stack up over time. Once a player suffers one, it becomes easier to get another, and recovery time can get longer with each one. In Olave's case, he missed nearly half of the 2024 season due to multiple concussions, which is a major reason why the Saints might be open to moving him. We've seen cases in the NFL where recurring concussions ended careers early. Look at players like Jordan Reed or Javid Best. Incredible talent, but their careers were cut short because the risk became too great. If the Chiefs trade for Olave, they have to ask, are we getting a long-term weapon or a short-term risk? That said, the NFL has taken big steps to protect players. Advanced helmet technology, like the Guardian caps used in practice, has helped reduce head injuries. Plus, teams are much more cautious now with concussion protocols. But is that enough to feel confident in making a move for Olave? So, let's put it to a vote. Does Olave's concussion history scare you off? Be honest. Type Y for yes if it's a deal breaker, or N for no if you think it's worth the risk. Let's see where Chiefs Kingdom stands. One thing is clear. The Chiefs need a receiver. Whether it's Olave or someone else, this offense still feels like it's missing something. So what are Kansas City's next moves? Let's break it down. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Chris Olave's health. Because no matter how talented he is, availability is the most important ability in the NFL. And with Olave, there's a serious red flag: concussions. This isn't just a recent issue. Dating back to his college days at Ohio State, Olave has suffered at least 5 documented concussions. In just 3 years with the Saints, he's already had 4. That's a major concern. And as any football fan knows, once a player starts dealing with repeated concussions, the risks only increase. The more you have, the easier it becomes to get another. And at some point, it starts affecting not just your career, but your long-term health. Just look at what's happened to other players in similar situations. Sterling Shepard has struggled to stay on the field for the Giants because of repeated concussions. Jordan Reed, a former Pro Bowl tight end, had his career cut short after suffering multiple head injuries. Even Tua Tagovailoa had teams questioning his future after a series of scary concussions in 2022. So, how would Kansas City handle this risk? Well, there are ways to minimize the damage. The Chiefs have a top-tier medical staff that could monitor Olave closely. Equipment like the Guardian cap, which has been used in practice to reduce head trauma, could help. But the reality is, once concussions start piling up, it's nearly impossible to guarantee a player's long-term durability. This raises the biggest question: is Olave worth the risk? On one hand, he's a dynamic playmaker who could elevate the Chiefs' offense. On the other, he might not be available when it matters most. So, I want your honest opinion. Do Olave's concussions make this trade too risky? Type Y for yes if you think it's a deal breaker, or N for no if you'd still take the chance. And if the Chiefs decide to pass, what's their next move? Do they need to add another receiver, or can they roll with what tool they've got? Let's get into that next. All right, Chiefs Kingdom. Let's take a step back. Whether the team makes a move for Chris Olave or not, one thing is clear. This offense still needs help at wide receiver. The question is, how urgent is this need? Look at the current group. Rashee Rice showed promise last season, but after his recent legal troubles, his availability for 2025 is uncertain. Rookie Xavier Worthy brings elite speed, but banking on a first-year player to be a true #1 receiver. That's a risky bet. And then there's Hollywood Brown. Sure, he adds explosiveness, but can he be the guy for Patrick Mahomes? If the answer is no, then Brett Veach has a decision to make. Should the Chiefs go all in for a proven receiver, or can they find value elsewhere? One option is free agency. Some veteran wideouts are still on the market, guys who could bring experience and reliability. But let's be real. Most of the big names are already gone. The draft is another route, but unless you're picking in the top 15, landing a true game changer at WR is tough. That's why this Olave trade idea has so much traction. He's young, explosive, and still on a rookie contract. But if the Chiefs don't pull the trigger, who else is out there? Could someone like T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk be a better fit? Or should Kansas City just roll with what they have and trust Mahomes to make it work? One thing is for sure. The clock is ticking. If the Chiefs want to keep their dynasty rolling, they can't afford another season of inconsistent wide receiver play. So, let's hear it. Who do you want as the Chiefs' top WR in 2025? Drop a name in the comments. And with that, we'll wrap things up. Thanks for sticking around, and as always, stay tuned, because Kansas City never sleeps when it comes to making moves.